Hello. So, I'm going to be talking about 8 times hopper speed item sorters that I built. I don't know if there's any other design out there. I've never seen another 8 times hopper speed item sorter. They're kind of impractical, and maybe that's why. But here I have a standard 1 times, 2 times, 4 times, and 8 times. And I'm just going to kind of show you the speeds. That's 1 at a time. And this one looks like it's the same speed, but it's actually sucking 2 out at the same time. As you can see, so it's kind of a similar concept between the 4 and the 8. So they're going to look like they're the same speed. So if you see that, they look about the same speed. This also looks about the same speed. It's because it is the same speed. The difference comes from how fast those items reach storage. So once the items get sucked out of here, in this design, they go to these 2 hopper minecarts. They get split up between the 2, and then they're limited by the 4 hoppers. And the 4 hoppers can only take in at 4 times hopper speed because there's only 4 of them. And what that does is you actually end up getting a backup in these hopper minecarts, and eventually that'll back up and they won't be able to take any more items out of the filter, and it can actually end up breaking your system. So that's the downfall of this design. And because of the speed, you're probably never going to see that, just because 4 times is usually enough. But if and maybe you needed it to not break when you flooded it with a bunch of items and you wanted it to actually be a full 8 times speed, you could use this design. And there's actually 5 hopper minecarts here. There's 2 stacked on top of each other right here. And what that ends up doing is over there's 2, and they suck it out at the same speed as these 2 suck out from this one. But they then get split into 2 more hopper minecarts, and from those 2 more into these 4. And the reason you have to do from this into these ones is because the way you're aligning them so that all 4 of the hoppers below them suck items out, you can't have them on top of rails, and the activator rails are what make the locking mechanism function. So you need a locking mechanism with 2 minecarts on 1 activator rail, and then they can split up into these 2 and then into 4 each for 8 times hopper speed. I wasn't satisfied with leaving it at that. It was too wide and it's 7 long, and I wanted it to make it even better. So what I did is I took that idea I had over there and I made it pseudo 1 wide tileable. So what I mean by that is it's technically not 1 wide tileable because it's too wide, obviously, but if you stack the 2 on top of each other, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's 8 long, and there's no space at all wasted. And this design has it doesn't leak anywhere. All 8 items will go in through these 8 hoppers, and all 8 items will go through these 8 hoppers, and they'll never mismatch or go to the one next to it or anything. And how I did that is I wired up this side the same as the first design I had, and this piston with the torch from the standard like 1 times hopper speed for the locking of these 2 minecarts. On the other side, I had to get kind of creative, and what it is this comparator points into this block, which turns it into a power block, which then powers the dust below it. So then you get 1, 2, 3. So it's the same amount of filter items because it's still 3, which is what I was trying to do. It took me a couple hours to get this design to work. But then this torch here, because this is glass, it's not going to mess with that activator rail, so it's only going to power these, and because these are glass, it's not going to power and shut off these hoppers. If you push the glass down with a piston on top of these minecarts, it won't mess up the alignment, so that's how you keep the alignment And then those 3 dust point into this block, and because they're pointing into that block, you can get it to power that block. And the only thing you need to change is these all need to be glass, because if this one, in the original design only this one needs to be glass, but this one needs to be glass too, and this one too, so that they don't interact with that activator rail for the other minecart on the other side. And then you also need this solid block here. Doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it's actually cutting the connection between this redstone dust and the one over here. So without this block, this wouldn't be pointing into this activator rail. So that's how you make it pseudo one-wide tileable. Just to kind of demonstrate that it does work, and at 8 times speed, and you can have it one-wide tileable. There's 4 layers here, 4 rows, and they're 8 wide, and those 4 rows each have their own item, and it's going to sort all of them. Should be no problem. If we go down here, none of them leaked. 15, 15, 15, 15. You're going to see some variation just because of the randomness of hoppers. When it gets to the very end of whatever it's sorting, it'll usually be, it can be 1 or 2 off, depending on which hopper got priority first. So there's all those, and they're all sorted right. So there's that. I'll add as a note that I did this as a Twitch stream, just so that I could get a recording of it. I don't really have any good recording software. I'm doing this on my phone, and hopefully that's good enough. If people like this, I'm going to post it on YouTube, and if people like it, I'll make a tutorial for how to make it. The only real thing, I was just messing around trying to prove a point that I can do it, and make it one-wide tileable, or pseudo one-wide, and just kind of for fun. It's not really too practical, because there's 5 hopper minecarts for every single filter, and that builds up lag really fast. So that's all for now.